y'all, what is up? I am Chelsea. I am an EF Ultimate Break ambassador, and today I am here to talk to you about one of EF's newest trips, the Portugal Getaway trip, which is super exciting because Portugal is one of the top travel destinations of 2024, and rightly so. So I'm excited to share with you my experience of taking this trip with EF, and also I was on the first run of this trip back in May, which is so awesome. So if you're interested in visiting Portugal or want to learn more about this trip and how EF offers their itinerary and everything else included, just keep watching. Oh, by the way, this is Leo. He might be joining us for this video, he might not. I've currently done 3 trips with EF Ultimate Break. I've also done a 4th trip, but that was with one of their sister companies many years ago. So I've done 11 countries with them, and I have enjoyed every experience with EF. So I want to share what it's like to travel in a review video. So let's get into it. EF Ultimate Break, what is the company all about? Well, it is a travel company that specializes specifically in group travel for those that are 18 to 35. And they do most of the heavy lifting for you in regards to travel. As we all know, travel is hard. Travel is a lot of work and takes a lot of preparation and planning. But EF takes so much of that load off of you. They take care of your accommodations. They take care of the transportation between everything pretty much, except for free time, of course. But they take care of your entrance to main attractions, if that's included in the itineraries, a few dinners, just pretty much everything. You're really only responsible for your free time and your a few meals like lunch and dinner, the dinners that are not included, depending on which trip type you take. Going into it, the next thing I just mentioned, trip types. EF has 2 different types of trip. They do essential trips and they do plus trips. So what's the difference? Essential means you're going to stay in more like hostel type places, and you may have anywhere from 6 to 10 roommates, and they have less included dinners. So basically it's a cheaper alternative. It's great for if you're really strapped for money and you really want to travel. It's a great option. The other option is your plus trips. The plus trips are the ones where you're going to have more upgraded experience. You're going to be staying in hotels instead of hostels. You're only going to have 1 roommate instead of up to 9, which is nice. It is a little bit more costly, but in my opinion, it's totally worth it, and I've enjoyed the plus trips that I've taken. So those are the kind of gist of the trips that they offer. One of the benefits of being an EF Ultimate Break ambassador is I have a special discount code for you guys. This discount code is for first-time travelers with EF, so if it's your first trip ever with them, you can register for your trip and sign up in the link down below in the description, and it will take off $100 off of your trip. Now here's the cool part. If you're booking your trip during a sale, you can still use the link below and you will get the sale price plus my extra $100 off code, which is amazing. How often does companies let you stack discounts? Not very, but EF does. So if you do decide you want to take the Portugal Getaway trip or any one of the many other amazing EF Ultimate Break trips that they have out there, don't forget to sign up below with my link so that you save extra money off. So the Portugal Getaway trip is an 8-day trip that is visiting 2 cities, which is Porto and Lisbon. However, disclaimer, you actually visit more cities than this. You visit Porto and then you transfer to Lisbon. So those are the 2 cities that are listed on the website. However, we did get to visit a few other towns on the trip. During the transfer from Porto to Lisbon, we stopped in Aveiro, which is known as Portugal's Venice because of the canals, which I will get to that later. And we also did a quick photo stop in Costa Nova, which is the cute little beach town that has all of the adorable striped houses. We also, once we got to Lisbon, we did have a day trip to Sintra, which I will get into that later. And we also did stop at another little cute coastal beach town called Cascais. I think I said that right. As far as activity levels go, this trip is listed as moderate, which on their website, they list that as wear your fitness tracker, watch those steps pile up. This isn't anything you need to train for, but it's definitely an adventure. So I have some thoughts on that. Yes, it is definitely a moderate level of intensity, but it can also be a low level of intensity. And here's why. So with Portugal, they have a lot of electric vehicles and Bolts and Ubers, which if you don't know what Bolt is, it is, I don't know if it's specific just to Portugal, but they do have them in Portugal. Bolt is like Uber, but they have it in Porto and Lisbon. And it's really cheap, like insanely cheap. We got an extra large Uber for like 5 or 6 of us, and we spent $7 on that trip to go from where we eaten a late night dinner all the way back to our hotel. and saved ourselves a 45-minute walk. So you can definitely take advantage of using Uber and Bolt to get around quicker and avoid some hills, and also save yourself some time, because it is an 8-day trip. There's a lot to see and you don't want to miss out. It is your vacation. And I love the fact that majority of the Ubers and Bolts that I took were in electric vehicles. That made me feel so much better that I was not contributing to the carbon footprint. So keep that in mind. It's not as big of a deal. Their electric cars seem to be a lot more popular over there than compared to here in the United States. So just something to think about. So if you choose not to do Uber or Bolt, yes, it is going to be a moderate trip for sure. But if you do a good variety, I feel like I did a good option of using Bolt and Uber versus walking around and just getting lost and exploring Portugal. I think you should definitely walk around and get lost, because that's the best way to immerse yourself into their culture and what it's like, their everyday life. And you're going to find things that you probably would have never found, and you definitely wouldn't have had a recommendation from Google or Travel TripAdvisor or anything like that. Definitely recommend doing that. But I did want to throw that out there, that it could be a moderate trip or it could be a low intensity. It depends on how you decide to do your trip. So let's get into the actual itinerary. So day one, you are flying from wherever you're starting at. That is your first official travel day, is just getting to the location. Once you arrive, the second day is technically your first day of the trip. And the first day you check into your hotel. We stayed at the HF Tuela Porto. We were supposed to check in by 3 o'clock. FYI, I completely missed this part because I was late. There was a whole flight situation. Originally, you are supposed to check into your hotel by 3 o'clock on day 2. And then you're going to do a quick walking tour of Porto with your tour director at 6 o'clock. And then have a welcome dinner at Passa Tempo at 8 p.m. which I unfortunately missed this portion, so I can't speak to it. But what I can say is I have been on other EF Ultimate Break trips, and I've been through this process, and it's always great. It's a cool time just to get to meet your fellow travelers and get exposed to the first bit of the culture, meet your tour director. It's always a fun experience. So I hate I missed it, but it is what it is. So on to day 3. I missed the first portion of this day. On day 3, you are going to do a guided sightseeing tour of Porto with a local guide from 9:30 to 12. So it's about 3 hours. So that's where you're getting that moderate activity in. Again, I missed this because I was stuck in Paris. Gave me worse places to be stuck, I'm sure. But anyways, so I missed that portion. I got there during free time in the afternoon. I think I got into Porto at about 4 o'clock. I got to the hotel, dropped my bags off, met my tour director, quickly refreshed, and luckily I made it in time for one of the extra excursions that our tour director planned for us. And if you don't know, there are excursions that you can book with your trip at the time of booking, and you'll see them listed on the website. But one of the cool things about EF Ultimate Break is with your tour directors, a lot of times they are locals to the area you're visiting, and they will have additional excursions that you will not see listed on the website. These are special excursions that they put together through the relationships that they have with their community, what they know would be fun and beneficial to you. So the first excursion we did that night, I made it in time for it, and I'm so excited because it was a Portuguese tile workshop, which we got to make our own authentic Portuguese tile. If you know anything about the Portuguese culture, you know that the tile, they are well known all around the world for their tile. Like, you will see it everywhere on the buildings. It's so huge in their culture. And I could talk for hours about how cool it is and all the history of it, but if you want to take this trip, you will hear all about it. So back to the actual excursion. So we got to get a couple of drinks included with the price. By the way, these extra excursions do have a little bit of a cost. It's nothing too crazy. I think it was maybe 35 euro if I remember correctly. And it included 2 drinks. We got to have a Porto tonic, which you will see in some photos that I'm going to insert here. And then we had a local Portuguese woman who talked to us about the history of the tile in Portugal, and then also explained to us how to make the tile, and was also there to help us, guide us, and make it such a fun experience. It was so much fun. I was so glad I made it in time for this because I was looking for it. If you know me, I love trying to be an artist. I'm not an artist, but I love pretending to be one. So it was so much fun. You get to drink and hang out and paint and create a tile. Like, it is the perfect thing in my opinion. It was so much fun. It was so informative, and it was a great way to get to meet the rest of the group, since especially I'd missed the welcome dinner, so I was playing catch up with everyone else. But it was so much fun. If you take this trip and it is an option that is offered to you, do it. It is the best experience for Porto. It is a cool souvenir that you get to take home. And that's the other thing. The tile you make, you get to bring home with you. So there was a running joke. I went right before Mother's Day, and so I had a little joke that, hey, I'm 30 years old, and guess what, Mom? I'm making you a Mother's Day present, which I did give her. So it was kind of funny. But anyways, it is such a cool experience, and I totally recommend it. And I cannot thank SOCIA enough for providing us with this opportunity. So shout out to one of the best tour directors for giving us this opportunity. After the tile working workshop, that was the end of day 3 on the trip. And so I opted to go out with some of the folks from the group to have a late dinner on the water down by the river, which was super cool. I'll post a few pictures here for you to see. So the next day is day 4 of the trip. And this day is where you do have one of the excursions that is listed on the website. This is the Douro River Cruise and Port Wine Tasting. It is an EF optional excursion from 9:30 to 1:30 p.m. So this was a pretty cool experience. We got up, had breakfast, we met in the hotel reception downstairs, and we got on a bus and we went across the river to do a river cruise, which was such a cool way to see the city. It was a different way. It was, for me, it was the first time seeing Porto because I missed the guided sightseeing tour, which from what I've heard was okay. They didn't have great weather. It was kind of misting and raining, and it did put a damper, pun intended, on the experience. So I was told I didn't miss much with the guided sightseeing tour. I would disagree, but good to know that it wasn't the best thing about the trip. But anyways, I digress. So we went to do the river cruise, which was absolutely stunning. And then after you do the river cruise, then you walk over and you get to do a wine tasting. And in Porto, they had port wine. So we got to hear some history about how port wine is made. I absolutely loved it. I will insert some pictures and some videos if I have any of that. And it was a great time. Again, another great opportunity to get to know my fellow travelers. And I definitely enjoyed it. I would 100% recommend that excursion on this trip. So after the wine tasting and the river cruise excursion, you have free time for the rest of the day, which my tour director was so incredibly sweet. Because I missed the first day with the guided sightseeing tour, my tour director had planned to take me on a tour of Porto because she is from Porto. It's her hometown. She wanted me to get to see it. Unfortunately, while we were at the wine tasting, one of my fellow travelers was not doing well and needed to go to the doctor. I don't know the whole situation, and so obviously my tour director had to see about the other traveler, which totally way more important. But she was so nice. She made me a map. She highlighted the sites that I needed to see, and she even highlighted in an orange, I believe, all the little streets that she recommended walking down just to get the authentic feel of Portugal. So after the excursion that morning, I went with a few friends to grab lunch, which I will insert some pictures here, which by the way, the tour director gave us a fantastic recommendation. And then I just kind of did a little self-guided tour. I walked around Porto and I got lost. I wandered around and it was a great time. After our free time, our tour director had another special surprise for us. This was not an excursion that we had to pay for. This is something that my tour director set up, and it was super amazing. It was at the Crystal Palace, which is one of the free time locations. If you do not visit there, you will be missing out. It is insanely beautiful. It's this beautiful gardens to where you can walk down and you can overlook the city of Porto. I'll insert some photos here. And it's a great place to see the sunset. But it was even cooler because our lovely tour director made us Portuguese croissants with schnitzel, ham, and cheese, and also made us a special drink with Portuguese liquor. I cannot remember what kind it was, mixed with freshly squeezed lemons from her mother's garden. Like, are you kidding me? The thought that was put into this was incredible. It was such an amazing experience. After the best wrap up of Porto the night before, we're on to day 5, which day 5 is your travel day. you are going to be traveling to Lisbon via Aveiro. So we got up, had breakfast, left by 9:30, and we took a bus and we stopped in Aveiro. Aveiro is known as the Venice of Portugal because there are canals, which was super cool. We got to do a boat ride there. Don't call them gondolas. They do not like it being called gondolas. So anyways, so we did a boat ride there. We spent a couple hours in Aveiro so we could grab lunch and explore the city. It was a cute little town. I wish we could have spent more time in that city. I wish we could have had at least 3 hours. There were still parts of the city that I saw on the boat tour that I wish we would have had time to explore more. After we left Aveiro, we got to do a quick photo stop, but we got to stop in Costa Nova. Outside of Aveiro, it has the famous, adorable striped houses, which again, I will insert photos so you can see. And it was so cool to be able to see them and take pictures with them. We hopped back on the bus and we headed to Lisbon. And once we got to Lisbon, our tour director was awesome and she had us stop at the Bellamy Tower. We hopped back on the bus and then we went to the Navigator Monument, which is, the tour director was amazing and got us some famous pasta de nata. And then we went and checked in our hotel and we headed to an included dinner, which was at Dote Barata at 8 o'clock. But the dinner at Dote was so good. I ended up getting a steak that was covered in what I would consider like a gravy type sauce. Now we're at day 6. Day 6 is the guided sightseeing tour of London with a local guide from 9:30 to 12:30. We turned, hi Leo, you wanted to make an appearance? You say hi? So next we have our guided sightseeing tour of Lisbon. So this one I kind of have some mixed thoughts on. Our tour guide did a really great job of not walking us to death, which I feel like it would have been walking us to death because it's not just walking like it's typically been on many of the other guided sightseeing tours I've been. Lisbon is hills. There are hills and stairs everywhere. Unlike Porto, you're not going to get a lot of flat walking. You will get some, but it's very little. Our tour guide did a really good job about hitting the highlights and telling us about Lisbon's history and stopping to let us catch our breath. So if you are not in a great physical shape or like just not an athlete and not in shape, whatever you want to call it, don't let this deter you. Like, they did a really good job. And what I really liked about it was he gave us a lot of great recommendations of where we should go in our free time after the guided sightseeing tour. Now, here's the part that I was a little sad. Because we did stop a lot and because there is a lot of stairs and hills, we did not cover as much ground as I would have hoped. However, we did hit the highlights. We got to see a lot of places where you can look out over the city, and I really like that. Overall, I would say that the guided sightseeing tour, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Because I say this, that just be aware, it's not going to be as go, see all the things. Like, you're definitely going to want your free time. After the guided sightseeing tour, you have free time that afternoon. And after that, we also had a additional excursion, Tagus River Sunset Sailing, which was so amazing. Oh my gosh. If this is offered to you on your trip, you need to do it. Oh my goodness. Again, it is a different way to see Lisbon. So seeing it from the water is stunning. It is gorgeous. Lisbon from a different view. It was so much fun. The vibes were immaculate. Like, 10 out of 10 excursion. I'm so glad I did it. Our entire group actually did the excursion, which was so much fun. Absolutely loved it. Another one of my top 5 best experiences in this entire trip. So on to day 7. Day 7, we had an optional excursion that is provided by EF Ultimate Break, which you will see on the website. And it is to Sintra to see the Pina Palace. And you also get to stop in, I'm going to say this wrong, a little beach town, Kashkash or Kush. I never know how to say it. So again, this is an all-day excursion. Like, it was a 9 to 5 p.m. So keep that in mind. Like, if you do this excursion, you will not really have any chance to go and do anything in Lisbon during the last day of the trip. And this is the last full day of the trip, by the way. So let's get into the excursion to Sintra. Initially, Sintra and the Pina Palace was something that I was super excited about. Like, it's something that immediately caught my eye about this itinerary, and I was so stoked and played a huge bearing in why I chose to book this trip. By the way, it was an impulse book. I don't remember what I was even planning to book this day, but I saw this trip and I'm like, yep, nope, we're going to Portugal. Little to no thought. And yeah, so the palace itself, if you're able to, I would definitely recommend going as early as possible. It is a tourist attraction, so there is going to be a lot of people. Keep that in mind. Now, as far as the palace itself, the outside is stunning. I have never seen a yellow and red castle before. It was giving Lego vibes, and I was totally there for it. However, the inside of the castle, the interior, was a bit lackluster for me. If you've been to Palace of Versailles or visited a lot of other castles, you will understand what I'm saying. It was very mid. It was nothing to really write home about. However, I still think that you 1000% need to do this excursion because it is so beautiful. There's so many great photo opportunities, and it's something amazing to see. And also there is so many great things built into this trip, this day trip, this excursion. Like, you need to do it. It was so much fun. And it was a lovely walk down the hill. And by the way, this castle is on a hill overlooking Lisbon, and it's outside of Lisbon obviously, but you can see Lisbon sort of on a clear day. So it was so incredible. I loved it. It was so much fun. So after the trip to the Pina Palace, we did go down to the town of Sintra, which just kind of walk around. Sintra was a cute little town. I feel like we got an adequate amount of time in Sintra. I was pretty happy with the amount of time and what we got to do. It seemed a bit smaller there. It wasn't like a major city like Lisbon or Porto. So I think we had a good amount of time there. So I was very pleased with that. And got to eat more pasta donatas because, you know, any opportunity to eat pasta donata, you're going to take it. Just don't ask questions. Thank me later. I got you. But yeah, it was fun. If you're there, you definitely need to, I have to find the name of the place, but we got a berry flavored liquor in a little chocolate cup, and you take the shot of liquor and then you eat the chocolate cup. Oh my God. So amazing. It was so good. I'm not a cherry flavor girly. Like, it's not my vibe. That's cough syrup to me, but not this liquor. Oh my gosh. It was so good. I definitely enjoyed it. 10 out of 10. You must do this in Sintra. After we went to Sintra, then we did a little stop in the town of, I cannot remember if it's Kashkash or Kush. Sorry, but it is such a cute little town. I absolutely loved it. I wish we had more time there. At first it was giving a lot of California vibes with the tall palm trees, but we got to walk around there. We got to see the ocean. By the way, some people did bring their bathing suits, and they were able to get to lay out on the beach for about an hour or so or thereabouts and get like your beach vibes, which was so cool. It also was giving Mediterranean vibes, like 100%. Even our tour director said that, like, yeah, this looks a lot like the Mediterranean. I've never personally been to the Mediterranean, so I can only look at pictures, but yeah, I would have to agree, even though I haven't been there. But it was so stunning. I definitely would have liked a little bit more time there so we could have had a proper beach day, but I definitely enjoyed getting to walk around and also try green wine verde, which was cool. Didn't know there was green wine. It's really good, actually. So after we got back on the bus and headed back to Lisbon, we had our farewell dinner at the Marsequeira Santa Marta. Again, I'm terrible at Portuguese. So this farewell dinner, it was interesting to say the least. The food was excellent. I loved the food. We again got options like you do that you order ahead of time. I will say this, that something to keep in mind if you visit Portugal is the Portuguese are very friendly. They are very nice. They are, if you've been to like Paris and places like that where people are not friendly, they're not the same. They are super nice. So just keep in mind that they're very friendly, and there are some cultural differences. In our trip, we had some of the waiters that were coming up and playing around with some of the fellow travelers where they would feed them the meals. or feed them a few bites of food. Some people on my trip was absolutely eating it up. Like, they ate and left no crumbs, literally, like Instagram live, all that. Like, they were here for the moment. There were some people that were not here for the moment and were not too happy about it. It didn't last very long for them because they didn't, weren't feeding into it, pun intended. For me, I don't think I would have enjoyed it. I appreciate my personal bubble, but again, some people do. I don't know if EF will continue going to this specific restaurant just because of how the vibes were there, with some people vibing with it, some people not vibing with it. I don't know, but it's a very Portuguese culture, so I do say that to keep in mind. And by the way, it was nothing inappropriate. It could have just been a bit awkward if it's not something you're used to. So it was a great experience overall. It just had a weird vibe to it, depending on how you feel about goofing off and being silly and having people really close to you in your vicinity, but in an appropriate way, if that makes sense. So it was a great experience. I enjoyed the food. I would go back. If I go back to Lisbon, I would definitely go back there. Oh my gosh, I'm still craving the clams. By the way, try the seafood in Portugal. Just do it. So that was the end of the last day. The next day, day 8, is the day that you fly home. Very sad. So here's my overall thoughts of the trip. I absolutely loved it. I think it is an amazing trip. Everyone needs, if you want to visit Portugal, you need to take this trip. I was so excited to see this trip because you get to stay in 2 cities and it's 8 days, so you're getting to see more of the trip. I do have a definite recommendation. If you're able, please extend your trip or come early. Portugal is incredible. I will say this, I am 1000% going back to Portugal. I am not done exploring. I want to go back and visit more beach towns. I want to visit the islands. I'm not done. I will be back 100%. There is one thing that I wish they would change about the itinerary. This is an 8-day trip, and I really, really, really wish it was a 9-day trip. I wish that they would extend it one more day to give us one more day in Lisbon. I felt like even though I got there late, we had adequate time in Porto. I felt like I got to see and do everything that I wanted to do in Porto, and I did not miss out, even getting there a day late. However, Lisbon, I cannot say that. Honestly, I wish we had more time because we arrived on that Wednesday. We had one of our included dinners. The next morning, we did our guided sightseeing tour. We had a few hours of free time, and then we had the sunset cruise, and that was it. The next day, we spent all day on an excursion to Sintra. So we really only had from 12:30 till about 5 o'clock of free time. And I feel like there was a lot of stuff that I wish I could have seen in Lisbon. However, I'm not mad about it. I will, like I said, I plan to go back to Portugal, and I will probably be flying into Lisbon as it's the biggest city in the country and most likely the one that you'll fly into. So I'm not worried about it. I know I'll be back. I'll get to see the things that I wanted to see. I would like to see EF offer a extra day in this trip and extend it to 9 days. I think that Sintra should be included in the itinerary and just make it a part of the trip and give us an extra day. That's just my 2 cents. We'll see what they do in the future. However, is this enough to keep you from booking this trip? Absolutely not. It's a great way to see the trip. If you don't know this about EF, it's a great way to get to know a country and a culture and see the places that you want to visit again. I think that this trip is a must-take trip. It is definitely one of my favorite trips. I know I've only done 3, but it's going to hold a very special place in my heart. I don't foresee this trip being topped, to be honest. Like, it is tied for my favorite trip with the Germany, Italy, Switzerland Oktoberfest itinerary. So it is so much fun. I absolutely loved it. The group was fantastic. I loved it in the Plus version. It was so much fun. I got to see so much of Portugal. I now know places that I plan to go back to one day, maybe even retire to Portugal one day. But yeah, it's amazing. I think that everybody should take this trip. Portugal is so full of culture, and it's amazing. The people are nice. The food is amazing. I can't say enough good things about Portugal. So if you have the opportunity, I definitely recommend booking this trip. It is so much fun. There were, like I said, there was a few little things with this trip that, but it was the first run. So they're going to obviously be improving it as they go. So when you take this trip, you will probably even somehow have a better experience than I did, which is kind of hard to believe because my experience was top tier, but that's just how it goes. So yeah, if you have questions, please feel free to let me know down below. And just as a reminder, if you do want to take the Portugal Getaway trip or any other trip with EF Ultimate Break, don't forget to sign up and register for your trip down in the link below in the description box so that you can save an additional $100 off of your trip. And if you do make a trip, please send me a message, leave me a comment, let me know. I want to know about your trips. Like, we're here to talk about travel. I want to hear where you're going. I want to hear your thoughts, how it went. Tell me all the things. Let's make more travel friends. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, entertaining in any way, if it inspired you to take a trip, please let me know. And if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.